my name is Danielle Vieira, and today I'll be reading my story, Moldylocks and the Three Bears, from this anthology, Once Upon a Whoops. Once upon a time there were three bears who lived in a house beside a graveyard. Papa Bear was huge and hairy, so he ate from a huge bowl, sat in a huge chair, and slept in a huge bed where he shed more fur than a sweaty yeti in summer. Mama Bear was normal-sized and neat, so she ate from a normal-sized bowl, sat in a normal-sized chair, and slept in a normal-sized bed, which she made as soon as she got up each day. Baby Bear was small and sweet, so he ate from a small bowl, sat in a small chair, and slept in a small bed, where he cuddled his stuffed unicorn every night. One day, the bears made plain porridge for their breakfast and poured it into their bowls. The porridge was as hot as a bubbling volcano burp, so they decided to take a walk while it cooled down. Baby Bear was the last to leave the house, and he forgot one crucial rule: always lock your door when you live close to a cemetery. Not long after the bears had left, the air rattled with a spine-chilling scrape, thump, scrape. A girl called Moldylocks lumbered up the pathway towards the bear's front door, stringy green hair swinging from side to side. Snuffling like a nutty bunny, she was drawn by something that resembled the smell of boiled brains. Yummy! Reaching the front door, Moldylocks lifted two mottled hands and pushed it open. She rumbled with hunger as the aroma of porridge wafted around her. First she tasted the porridge in the huge bowl, but it burned off her tongue, so she spat it out. Next she tasted the porridge in the normal-sized bowl, but its chilliness made her shake so violently that one of her eyeballs slipped out and plopped into the bowl. Finally she tasted the porridge in the small bowl, and it was just right. Moldylocks slurped up every last boiled brainy drop of porridge and tossed the bowl to the floor, where it smashed into jagged fragments. Having used her undead energy to dig out of her grave and drag herself to the bear's house, Moldylocks was a little tired. She prowled around and grunted with glee when she saw the bear's chairs. First she sat in the huge chair, but it was too hard. It was as stiff as the wooden coffin that she had clawed out of. Next she sat in the normal-sized chair, but it was too soft, like the mound of mushy mud that she had pushed through. Finally she sat in the small chair, and it was just right. But as Moldylocks settled her bony bum into the chair, the base broke and sent her crashing to the ground. "Ah!" Moldylocks yelled, her limbs twisting in all directions. As she scrambled to stand up, she dug her ragged fingernails into the side of the huge chair. Then she banged her foot on the leg of the normal-sized chair. Three toes popped off and skidded across the floor towards the remains of the small chair. She limped upstairs to find somewhere to rest. In a large room at the end of a hallway, she discovered three beds. First, she threw herself onto the huge bed, but a cloud of fur exploded from the sheets and made her sneeze. Then her nose snapped off and somersaulted through the air. Next, she threw herself onto the normal-sized bed, but it was so well made that she bounced right off and landed on the carpet with a thud. Finally, she threw herself onto the small bed, and it was just right. She wrapped her withered arms around the unicorn and went straight to sleep. By this time, the three bears thought that their porridge would be cool enough to eat, so they returned home to have their breakfast. Papa Bear noticed the tongue poking out of his bowl. "Someone's been nibbling at my porridge," he growled. Then Mama Bear examined her porridge and saw the eyeball staring back at her. "Someone's been nibbling at my porridge," she howled. Finally, Baby Bear found his bowl smashed on the floor. "Someone's been nibbling at my porridge, and they've eaten it all up," he cried. Wondering who had invaded their home, the three bears began to scout around. Papa Bear spied scratch marks on his chair. "Someone's been sitting in my seat," he growled. Then Mama Bear spotted lumps of mud on her chair. "Someone's been sitting in my seat," she howled. Finally, Baby Bear picked up the pieces of his chair. "Someone's been sitting in my seat, and they've broken it all apart," he cried. Now worried that there was some kind of destructive demon in their house, the three bears decided to search upstairs very carefully. As soon as they crept into the bedroom, they knew something wasn't right. Papa Bear lifted up a slimy schnoz with his paw. "Someone's been lying in my bed," he growled. Then Mama Bear glimpsed a wrinkle in her perfectly made bed. "Someone's been lying in my bed," she howled. Finally, Baby Bear ran over to his bed to check on his unicorn. "Someone's been lying in my bed and she's still here," he cried. The growling and howling of the first two bears sounded like a storm on a faraway sea, and Moldilocks continued to snore. But Baby Bear's shrill cry woke her up with a start. As the three bears closed in on Moldilocks, determined to rid their home of this evil zombie, she started to sob. "Please don't hurt me," Moldilocks begged, as she hugged the unicorn tight. The three bears looked at each other in surprise, and then turned back to Moldilocks. "Why did you break into our house?" demanded Papa Bear. "I've been so hungry and cold and lonely in my grave. I only wanted to eat our brains," Mama Bear squeaked. Moldilocks shook her head sadly, and grey flakes of skin fluttered onto the bed, to be happy again. Silence blanketed the room. Baby Bear watched as Moldilocks stroked the unicorn with gaunt fingers. He thought about the eyeball floating on Mama Bear's cold porridge, the toes nudging his crushed chair, and the nose sniffing about in Papa Bear's hairy bed. Then he started to laugh. "What's so funny?" Moldilocks asked, frowning. "You are," Baby Bear replied. "You're falling apart. We need to take care of you." He turned to Mama Bear. "Can she stay?" Mama Bear and Papa Bear glanced at each other and smiled. "Yes," said Mama Bear. "I think we can dig up another bowl, chair and bed from somewhere."